December 26, 1996, 5:52 a.m. Patsy Ramsey picks up the phone to call 911. Her voice is frantic, desperate. Her 6-year-old daughter, JonBenét, is missing. But what investigators would discover in the following hours would transform this case into one of the most analyzed, debated, and haunting mysteries in American criminal history. A ransom note, a body in the basement, and evidence that nearly 3 decades later continues to reveal disturbing new details that challenge everything we thought we knew. This is the JonBenét Ramsey case, a story of a beauty queen child, a wealthy family, and an investigation that would expose the darkest corners of obsession, failure, and unanswered questions. What really happened in that Boulder, Colorado mansion? Who wrote that ransom note? And why does new evidence suggest we've been looking at this case all wrong? The Ramsey family seemed to have it all. John Ramsey, a successful businessman and CEO of Access Graphics, had built a fortune in the computer industry. His wife, Patsy, a former beauty queen herself, crowned Miss West Virginia in 1977, had dedicated herself to raising their children and nurturing JonBenét's budding pageant career. They lived in a sprawling 15-room Tudor-style mansion at 755 15th Street in Boulder, a neighborhood where crime was virtually unheard of. Their life appeared picture-perfect, the kind of American success story that seemed untouchable by tragedy. JonBenét Patricia Ramsey was born on August 6, 1990. By age 6, she had already won multiple beauty pageant titles, including Little Miss Colorado. Her blonde hair, wide smile, and stage presence captivated audiences. Videos of her performances would later be broadcast worldwide, images that would become both a memorial and, tragically, a source of endless speculation. She attended High Peaks Elementary School, loved to sing, and dreamed of becoming a performer. Those who knew her described a bright, energetic child who lit up every room she entered. But on Christmas night 1996, something happened in that house. Something that would shatter the Ramsey family forever and launch an investigation that continues to this day. The family had spent Christmas Day celebrating. They attended a party at the home of Fleet and Priscilla White, close friends of the Ramseys. According to multiple witnesses, JonBenét seemed happy, playing with other children, eating pineapple and cracked crab. The Ramseys returned home around 9:30 p.m. John Ramsey would later state he helped JonBenét get ready for bed while Patsy put out gifts. Both parents claimed JonBenét was asleep when they carried her upstairs. The house went dark. Everyone supposedly went to sleep. At 5:52 a.m. on December 26th, Patsy Ramsey made that call to 911. The call lasted 5 minutes and 58 seconds. Her voice, captured on that recording, has been analyzed thousands of times by audio experts, psychologists, and armchair detectives alike. She told the dispatcher she had found a ransom note on the spiral staircase leading from the second floor to the kitchen. The note claimed that a small foreign faction had kidnapped JonBenét and demanded $118,000 for her safe return. That specific amount, investigators would later note, was remarkably close to John Ramsey's recent bonus. Officers Rick French and Carl Veitch arrived at the Ramsey home at 5:59 a.m., 7 minutes after the 911 call. What happened next would become one of the most criticized aspects of the investigation. The officers did not secure the crime scene. They did not immediately search the entire house. They allowed friends and family members to enter the home, contaminating potential evidence. The Ramseys called their pastor, Reverend Roll Hoverstock, and several friends. Within an hour, the house that should have been treated as a potential crime scene resembled a gathering, with multiple people moving through rooms, touching surfaces, and inadvertently destroying evidence. Before we go deeper into what investigators discovered that morning, make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. Here at True Crime Vault, we unlock the cases that deserve to be remembered, new investigations every week. And if you think you know everything about the JonBenét case, I promise you, the evidence we're about to discuss will change your perspective. Detective Linda Arndt arrived at the Ramsey home at 8:10 a.m. By then, the house was filled with people. The ransom note had instructed the Ramseys to wait for a call between 8 and 10 a.m. The call never came. As the morning stretched on, the tension became unbearable. At approximately 1 p.m., Detective Arndt suggested that John Ramsey and Fleet White search the house again. What John Ramsey found in the basement would haunt him for the rest of his life. At 1:05 p.m., John Ramsey opened the door to a small wine cellar room in the basement. The room was dark. He reached for the light switch, and there, on the floor, covered with a white blanket, was JonBenét. John Ramsey let out a scream that everyone in the house heard. He rushed to his daughter, pulled the blanket away, saw the duct tape over her mouth, the cord around her neck. He picked her up, carried her upstairs, and laid her on the floor of the living room. Detective Arndt tried to perform CPR, but it was immediately clear that JonBenét had been dead for hours. Her body was cold. Rigor mortis had already set in. The Boulder Police Department's handling of the case, from that very first moment, would become a subject of intense scrutiny and criticism. The crime scene had been compromised. Evidence had been contaminated. And now, the body had been moved, further complicating the investigation. What should have been a methodical, by-the-book response to a suspected kidnapping had turned into chaos. The autopsy, conducted by Dr. John Meyer on December 27th, revealed horrifying details. JonBenét had died from asphyxiation due to strangulation associated with cranial cerebral trauma. There was an 8.5-inch fracture to her skull. The medical examiner determined she had been struck on the head with a blunt object, a blow so severe it would have rendered her unconscious immediately. She had then been strangled with a garrote, a device made from a cord and the broken handle of a paintbrush that belonged to Patsy Ramsey. The paintbrush had been found in Patsy's art supplies in the basement. The autopsy also revealed evidence of vaginal trauma, though the medical examiner could not definitively determine if it was related to sexual assault or prior injury. This finding would fuel years of speculation and become one of the most controversial aspects of the case. Some experts believed it indicated chronic sexual abuse. Others argued the evidence was inconclusive. The truth remains disputed to this day. But it was the ransom note that would become one of the most analyzed pieces of evidence in criminal history. The note was written on a pad of paper found inside the Ramsey home. It was 2.5 pages long, 376 words, written with a Sharpie pen also from inside the house. The author used specific phrases that seemed oddly cinematic, referencing foreign factions, attachés, and execution. The handwriting was analyzed by multiple experts. Some believed Patsy Ramsey could not be excluded as the author. Others insisted the handwriting did not match. What disturbed investigators most was the length and content of the note. Ransom notes in legitimate kidnappings are typically brief, to the point, and focused on logistics. This note rambled. It seemed performative. And it had been written inside the house, suggesting the author had spent considerable time there, comfortable enough to sit down and compose a lengthy letter while a kidnapped child was supposedly in their possession. That behavior didn't align with typical kidnapping cases. It suggested something far more personal, far more calculated. The investigation quickly became a media circus. News crews camped outside the Ramsey home. JonBenét's pageant photos were broadcast constantly, sparking debates about child beauty pageants and the sexualization of young girls. The Ramsey family, grieving and traumatized, found themselves under intense public scrutiny. John and Patsy Ramsey were not officially named as suspects, but the Boulder Police Department's focus on the family was clear. Detectives believed the evidence pointed to someone inside the house. The lack of forced entry, the ransom note written on materials from the home, the fact that JonBenét's body was found in the basement, a location someone unfamiliar with the house's layout would be unlikely to know. In 1997, the Ramseys hired a team of lawyers and public relations experts. They gave limited interviews, most notably appearing on CNN with Brian Cable on January 1, 1997, just 6 days after JonBenét's death. The interviews were carefully controlled, and critics argued the Ramseys were more focused on managing their public image than cooperating fully with the investigation. The Boulder Police Department, meanwhile, struggled with internal conflicts. Detective Steve Thomas, one of the lead investigators, became convinced that Patsy Ramsey had killed JonBenét in a fit of rage, possibly related to bedwetting, and that John Ramsey had helped cover it up. Other detectives disagreed, believing an intruder was responsible. In 1998, the case was presented to a grand jury. For 13 months, the grand jury heard testimony from dozens of witnesses, reviewed thousands of pieces of evidence, and deliberated on whether to indict the Ramseys. In October 1999, the grand jury voted to indict both John and Patsy Ramsey on charges of child abuse, resulting in death and being accessories to a crime. However, then District Attorney Alex Hunter refused to sign the indictment, stating there was insufficient evidence to prosecute. The decision was controversial and remains debated. The grand jury's vote was kept secret until 2013, when the documents were finally released to the public. For years, the case went cold. Patsy Ramsey died of ovarian cancer in 2006, never knowing who killed her daughter. John Ramsey remarried and continued to advocate for a renewed investigation. The Boulder Police Department faced criticism for its handling of the case, and multiple books, documentaries, and television specials dissected every detail, often reaching conflicting conclusions. Then, in 2008, new evidence emerged that would shift the entire investigation. DNA testing, using advanced touch DNA technology, was performed on JonBenét's long underwear and leggings. The tests revealed DNA from an unidentified male, found in multiple locations on her clothing. The DNA did not match any member of the Ramsey family. It did not match any of the friends or neighbors who had been investigated over the years. In July 2008, then District Attorney Mary Lacey issued a letter officially exonerating the Ramsey family. She stated that the DNA evidence pointed to an intruder and that the Ramseys were innocent. But the exoneration was not universally accepted. Many investigators, including former Detective Steve Thomas, argued that the DNA evidence was inconclusive. They pointed out that DNA can be transferred innocently through manufacturing processes or incidental contact. The DNA found on JonBenét's clothing could have come from a worker at the factory where the underwear was made, or from someone who handled the clothing at the store. The debate over the DNA evidence continues to this day, with experts on both sides presenting compelling arguments. In recent years, new investigative techniques and renewed public interest have brought fresh attention to the case. In 2021, genetic genealogy, the same technique used to identify the Golden State Killer, was discussed as a potential tool for identifying the unknown male DNA profile. This method involves uploading DNA to public genealogy databases to find relatives of the person who left the DNA, then building a family tree to identify potential suspects. However, as of now, no definitive match has been made. What's even more disturbing is the evidence that has emerged about potential intruders. Investigators have explored the theory that someone obsessed with JonBenét, possibly someone who had seen her at pageants, stalked the family and entered the home on Christmas night. The Ramsey home had multiple entry points, including a basement window with a damaged grate that could have provided access. Some investigators believe the intruder hid in the house for hours, waiting for the family to go to sleep, then attacked JonBenét. This theory would explain the ransom note being written inside the house and the use of Patsy's paintbrush for the garrote. An intruder, comfortable in the house, could have taken their time staging the scene. But if it was an intruder, why was there no clear evidence of forced entry? Why was the ransom note so long and theatrical? And why was the ransom amount so specific, matching John Ramsey's bonus? These questions have fueled the belief among some investigators that someone inside the house or someone very close to the family was involved. One of the most disturbing aspects of the case is the ransom note itself. Linguistic experts have analyzed the note extensively. The phrasing, the tone, the unusual references all suggest the author was familiar with movies and popular culture. Phrases like, "We respect your business but not the country that it serves," and "If we catch you talking to a stray dog, she dies," seem lifted from thriller films. The note also addressed John Ramsey by name and referenced his business success, indicating the author knew personal details about the family. Handwriting analysis has been contentious. Multiple experts have examined Patsy Ramsey's handwriting samples. Some concluded she could not be ruled out as the author. Others insisted the handwriting did not match. John Ramsey's handwriting was also analyzed and ruled out by most experts. Burke Ramsey, JonBenét's 9-year-old brother at the time, was initially considered by some as a potential suspect in alternative theories, but he was officially cleared by investigators and has consistently denied any involvement. In 2016, Burke Ramsey sued CBS for defamation after a documentary special suggested he might have been involved. The case was settled in 2019 for an undisclosed amount. The pineapple found in JonBenét's stomach during the autopsy has also been a point of intense focus. The autopsy revealed she had eaten pineapple approximately 1 to 2 hours before her death. A bowl of pineapple with a spoon was found on the kitchen table, with Patsy and Burke's fingerprints on it. Both John and Patsy Ramsey stated they did not give JonBenet pineapple that night and believed she was asleep when they returned home. This discrepancy has never been fully explained. Did JonBenet wake up and eat the pineapple herself? Did someone else give it to her? The unanswered question continues to haunt the case. Over the years, multiple individuals have confessed to killing JonBenét Ramsey. In 2006, John Mark Carr, a school teacher, confessed to the murder while he was arrested in Thailand on unrelated charges. He claimed he was with JonBenét when she died and that her death was an accident. Carr was extradited to the United States, and the case received massive media attention. However, his DNA did not match the unknown DNA found on JonBenét's clothing, and he was quickly cleared. Carr's confession was determined to be false, a disturbing example of the kind of attention the case has attracted over the decades. The Boulder Police Department continues to classify the JonBenét Ramsey case as an open and active investigation. In 2022, the department announced it was working with state and federal agencies, including the FBI, to review evidence using the latest forensic technology. The department has also committed to pursuing genetic genealogy as a potential avenue for identifying the unknown DNA profile. But nearly 3 decades after JonBenét's death, justice remains elusive. What makes this case even more disturbing is the realization that, despite all the evidence, all the analysis, all the resources dedicated to solving it, we still don't know who killed JonBenét Ramsey. The theories are endless. The possibilities are haunting. An intruder who remains unidentified. A family tragedy covered up with a staged kidnapping. A crime committed by someone close to the family who has evaded justice for nearly 30 years. The truth is buried somewhere in that evidence, in those DNA samples, in the memories of that Christmas night. John Ramsey, now in his 80s, continues to advocate for a renewed investigation. He has called for the case to be handed over to an outside agency, arguing that the Boulder Police Department's mishandling of the initial investigation compromised the entire case. He believes the DNA evidence will eventually lead to his daughter's killer. He has stated publicly that he wants to know the truth before he dies, that he wants justice for JonBenét. The pain in his voice when he speaks about his daughter is unmistakable. Whatever happened that night, John Ramsey lost his child in the most horrific way imaginable, and he has spent nearly 3 decades living with that grief and the shadow of public suspicion. The case has had a profound impact on American culture. It changed how we view child beauty pageants, raising questions about whether young children should be placed in adult-like competitions that emphasize appearance and performance. It exposed the flaws in how law enforcement handles high-profile cases, especially when wealthy, well-connected families are involved. It demonstrated the destructive power of media speculation and public opinion in ongoing investigations. And it left us with a haunting reminder that sometimes, no matter how much evidence is gathered, the truth remains just out of reach. New evidence continues to emerge. In recent years, investigators have re-examined the flashlight found on the kitchen counter of the Ramsey home. Some experts believe this flashlight could have been the weapon used to strike JonBenét on the head. The flashlight had been wiped clean, with no fingerprints found on it. Why would someone wipe down a flashlight in their own home? This detail has raised more questions than answers. Was the flashlight used in the crime and then wiped clean by the perpetrator? Or is it simply a coincidence, an item that happened to be on the counter that night? Investigators have also reanalyzed the 911 call Patsy Ramsey made that morning. Enhanced audio analysis has revealed what some experts believe is additional conversation after Patsy thought she had hung up the phone. The voices, barely audible, have been interpreted in various ways. Some believe they hear Burke Ramsey's voice, asking what happened, which would contradict the Ramseys' statement that Burke was asleep during the 911 call. Others argue the audio is too distorted to draw any conclusions. The Boulder Police Department has never officially confirmed or denied these findings, adding another layer of mystery to an already complex case. One of the most chilling aspects of the investigation is the garrote itself. The device used to strangle JonBenét was not a simple ligature. It was a sophisticated tool, constructed from a cord and a broken paintbrush handle, designed to tighten and maintain pressure. Some experts believe the construction of the garrote indicates knowledge of knots and restraint techniques, possibly suggesting a perpetrator with military, nautical, or specialized training. Others argue that the construction was amateurish, something anyone could have fashioned in the moment. The presence of the garrote has fueled theories about the type of person who could have committed this crime. Was it someone with a sadistic streak? Someone who derived satisfaction from the act of strangulation? Or was it a desperate attempt to stage a crime scene, to make it appear as though an intruder had killed JonBenét? The basement window has also been a focal point of investigation. The window had a damaged grate, and there was evidence of disturbance in the area, including a scuff mark on the wall and debris on the floor. Some investigators believe this was the entry point for an intruder. Others argue that the disturbance was staged, that someone from inside the house created the appearance of a break-in to support the intruder theory. John Ramsey himself has stated that he broke the window earlier that summer when he was locked out of the house, and that he never had it repaired. This explanation has been both accepted and questioned over the years. If the window had been broken months earlier, why was there fresh debris on the floor? Or was the debris simply a result of normal household activity, unrelated to the crime? The role of the media in the JonBenét Ramsey case cannot be overstated. From the moment the story broke, it was everywhere. The combination of a wealthy family, a beautiful child, and a brutal murder captivated the nation. Tabloids published sensational headlines. Television shows dissected every detail. The Ramseys were tried in the court of public opinion long before any legal proceedings took place. The media attention made it nearly impossible for investigators to conduct a fair and objective investigation. Witnesses were influenced by what they read and saw on television. Potential jurors were exposed to a barrage of speculation and bias. The case became less about finding the truth and more about feeding a public hungry for scandal and drama. In 2016, multiple documentaries and specials aired on the 20th anniversary of JonBenét's death. These programs presented conflicting theories, some suggesting the Ramseys were innocent and an intruder was responsible, others implying family involvement. The renewed attention brought the case back into the national spotlight, but it also highlighted how little progress had been made in nearly 2 decades. The Boulder Police Department faced renewed criticism for its handling of the case, and calls for an independent review of the evidence grew louder. What do we know for certain? We know that on the morning of December 26, 1996, JonBenét Ramsey was found dead in the basement of her family's home. We know she died from strangulation and suffered a severe head injury. We know a ransom note was found, written on materials from inside the house. We know that DNA from an unidentified male was found on her clothing. And we know that, despite thousands of hours of investigation, countless interviews, and multiple grand jury proceedings, no one has ever been charged with her murder. The Boulder Police Department has stated that they have investigated over 1,000 tips and interviewed more than 1,500 people in connection with the case. They have traveled across the country and even internationally to follow leads. They have consulted with top forensic experts, criminologists, and psychologists. Yet the case remains unsolved. Every lead that seemed promising eventually led to a dead end. Every theory that seemed plausible eventually fell apart under scrutiny. The truth, whatever it is, has remained hidden for nearly 30 years. What's most disturbing is the possibility that we may never know what happened to JonBenét Ramsey. The passage of time has made the case harder to solve. Memories fade, witnesses die, evidence degrades. The chance of a breakthrough diminishes with each passing year. But advancements in forensic science offer hope. DNA technology that didn't exist in 1996 is now capable of identifying individuals from the smallest traces of genetic material. Genetic genealogy has solved cold cases that seemed hopeless. If the unknown DNA profile found on JonBenét's clothing belongs to her killer, there is a chance, however slim, that he could still be identified. The impact of this case extends far beyond one family or one community. It has influenced how law enforcement agencies handle high-profile cases involving children. It has sparked conversations about media responsibility and the ethics of covering crimes involving minors. It has reminded us of the importance of protecting crime scenes and following proper investigative protocols from the very first moment. And it has left us with a haunting question that refuses to go away. Who killed JonBenét Ramsey? JonBenét would have been 34 years old today. Her life was stolen from her on Christmas night, in her own home, by someone who has never been held accountable. Her family has lived with that loss every single day since 1996. The grief, the suspicion, the endless questions, all of it has marked their lives in ways most of us cannot comprehend. Whether you believe the Ramseys were involved or whether you believe an intruder killed JonBenét, one thing is undeniable. A 6-year-old girl was murdered and justice has not been served. The case remains open. The Boulder Police Department continues to receive tips. The evidence is still being analyzed. And somewhere, Whether it's in a database, in a memory, or in a piece of evidence that has yet to be properly understood, the answer exists. The truth about what happened to JonBenét Ramsey is out there. We just haven't found it yet. If this case intrigued you, make sure to subscribe to True Crime Vault for more in-depth investigations. Hit that like button and drop a comment with your thoughts on the evidence. Do you think the DNA will eventually solve this case? What's your theory on what really happened that Christmas night? Let me know in the comments below. And remember, these aren't just stories. These are real people, real lives, and real mysteries that deserve to be remembered. JonBenét Ramsey deserves justice. And until that day comes, we will continue to unlock the cases that refuse to be forgotten.